Good afternoon, and I'm your host, Terrence Perry. Welcome to Rebels with a Purpose. And I want to thank all the viewers for watching the show because you could have been anywhere in the world today, but you chose to be here with us. So I appreciate that. I want to thank you all for tuning in this evening. We do have a special guest this evening that I'm gonna bring to you in just a minute. His name is Anthony James, Chaplain Anthony James, and we're going to talk to him today a little bit about the book that he's just written and released, and also about his organization, um, Men of Vision Exposed. Anthony, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I appreciate having you on today, and I want to kind of get into several questions with you this evening. But before I do want to acknowledge the producer, Amnon. Amnon, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm looking forward to the show we have today.
We're going to have a good show.
It's going to be a great show. It's going to be so good, I'm not going to waste any time getting into it. Anthony, you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I want to just get started with, well, before I do, let me mention to the audience, if they want to call into the show today, they can call in at 919-518-9773. Do call into the show. We have Chaplain Anthony James here today and myself. You can call and ask us any questions or any concerns that you have. But getting into the show, let me ask you just up front, who is Anthony James and when did he become Chaplain Anthony James?
Yes, well, I became chaplain in 2007. Originally born and raised in New York, Long Island, Amityville, New York. Had a long journey of street substance abuse and all that stuff in my past. And so what prompted me to become a chaplain, through the graces of God, saving me from the streets. So that's the route that I chose.
All right, now along those lines, I want to mention the book that you've just published, and that book is called The Millionaire's Brother. And in that book, The Millionaire's Brother, there's a chapter to where you talk about taxicab confessions. I want to ask you about those taxicab confessions today because you particularly named that those confessions from when you were driving a taxi cab in New York.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit of that with us?
Well, where that term came from, taxi cab confessions, was, like if anybody know about the Catholic Church, like that's how I looked at it. Like when you go into the Catholic, you enter into a box and you talk to the priest and about your confessions. And so that's how the cab came about, because as I was driving, people had a lot of problems. So they would get in my cab and they would I would just say good morning. That would be the opener. And as I say good morning to them, it would just open up everything else. And they would just confess some things in their personal life, which that alarmed me at first. I was like, wow, why are they telling me all their business? And I was like, whoa, it's got to be a reason why. And so as the time went on, I just realized, like, wow, this is just like a confession box, like a cab. Like, really, when they come in my cab, they talk to me, and I'm holding their information like, I can't put their information out there. And I felt kind of crazy because I felt it was a responsibility not to put their information out to anybody else. So that's what that taxi cab confession was about.
I mean, that was one of the funniest chapters, but also one of the best chapters to me. Now, the whole book is actually good. Once I started reading it, I couldn't put the book down. I met you a couple years ago, and I knew you were writing the book. And once you had the book completed, and I was reading it, I just, I read the whole book in probably a couple of hours because it was just that interesting. The things that you talk about along your journey, and one of the other things that you talk about, and is mentioned in the book, I read that you say that you should have been dead at least 10 times over because you've been shot at point blank range. You've been involved with some police brutality, and things of that nature. But can you kind of just share with us a little bit about? You said you could have been dead 10 times over. That kind of struck me as wow. That's that's tough.
Well, you know, I laughed, but it really at that time it wasn't a funny matter. But you know, being God's grace, you know, His mercy and His grace on my life, I can remember one time, one incident that, whereas you know, these young guys, you know, because I was in the street doing everything I thought I was big enough and bad enough to do, and so I approached these young guys that, you know, I had a street name that was, I had a rep out in the street, and it wasn't a good one, and so one of the young guys pulled a gun on me, and when he shot 4 times, I thought it was like a starter pistol, a fake gun, because I was hitting, tapping on my body, and I didn't see any blood, or I didn't go to the ground. So at that time, I was like, man, this gun is fake. So I went chasing after the guy, and then come to find out, years later, I saw the same guy. One of the young guys got a little older, and I was actually just starting my ministry, Vision Exposed, and I was passing out my cards. And he was like, you know what? He said, Anthony, they call me Ant-Man in the street. Ant-Man, he said, you know what? Years ago, remember? It wasn't that we were scared of you, we was running. He said, I shot you 4 times. And that's when it hit me. I was like, wow, those were real bullets. And so, you know, that pretty much took me to a place where it's, wow, here's God again in my life, protecting me again. So that's where that came from, you know, with the, when I got shot. There's so many incidents I can talk about, but that one in particular, that was the one that really, really struck me, because it was years later after, then, you know, think somebody forgot about things that happened in the street, you know? So that was really alarming.
Yeah, when I read that, I was like, oh man, that hey, God had to have His hand over you at that time, because to be shot at point blank range 4 times, and not even realize that you know, that's a blessing within itself. Also, there was some other near death experiences that you talked about, but also you mentioned there was some police brutality that you went through several times. Do you care to talk about that a little bit, and how did that work out in the end? How did you bring that to a resolution?
Well, even today, it's still never, the only resolution came about was me forgiving them.
Okay.
I never pursued any lawsuits. My parents was, at that time, they were afraid to, you know, go after the police department that did the harm to me, which, you know, several occasions years ago, you know, in the neighborhood, in the middle class neighborhood, Amityville, the police used to just roll around and mess with young black kids, because that's in my neighborhood, whether it be Hispanic or African American. And they used to just come by and call your name out. And this one particular time, you know, they chased me. And when they chased me, you know, I ran and I hid. And so when I hid, it was like 2 a.m. I hid in some lady's yard. And so they found me. And then they had a flashlight. When they chased me and caught me, they beat me in the head. You know, and I was knocking on the lady's door for help and this, that, and the third. And so what happened was, when she came to the door, she was screaming. And she was like, let him go, let him go. And they were still pounding away, like as if I really did some harm to somebody, or I really, you know, had pulled a gun on them. And so, you know, they covered up. They covered up pretty well. They took me to the hospital, got my head bandaged up. Then they took me to the jail, and I caught a seizure in the jail cell. Walked out of Hickam, another God rescue. I walked right out of a seizure, and I got beat in there as well. So that police brutality is really goes back to what's going on to now, today, in today's society. It's the same thing. I see the same things over and over happening in society.
Yeah, and it is still going on, and now, as you say, it's being exposed a lot more. But also, let me bring us to another part of what you do. You have an organization called Men of Vision Exposed. How did you you come about the development of that organization, and what inspired you to put that organization together. If you could share a little bit of that with us.
Well, Men of Vision Exposed, after becoming a chaplain in 2007, 2009, God gave me a vision. I was sitting in a cab, just thinking, wow, what am I doing with my life? Been through a lot, and all of a sudden that my spirit quickened, and the thing is, God gave me the Spirit of God gave me M.O.V.E, just M.O.V.E, which is M.O.V.E. And I was like, what is that? And I didn't get the E until probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks after that, which formulated the word M.O.V.E, Men of Vision Exposed. That's what it represented. And why he gave it to me, Men of Vision Exposed, was because, and through my organization, I try to get men to be exposed in their own communities, not just going to college, leaving. It's always when I believe you should come back. If you see a need in your community and you can fix, I think that's what you should be doing. And so that's where that term came from, Men of Vision Exposed, because I'm trying to literally help men come from prison, with a different mindset to go back into their communities and help out what they can.
Now, can you share a little bit more about that? You as a chaplain, you go back into the prisons to reach men that are in prison, that are on their way out, and you go. So, are you a prison chaplain?
Yes. Well, I'm a community chaplain.
Okay.
I volunteer. I don't get paid, so that's what make it so powerful to me, because I could have went that route, but God again let me know He did not want me to go that route, because I believe my ministry would have been watered down. And so what I do as an aftercare program, I try to assist men that's coming home from prison, dealing with that same stigma of convict. Because when they get out, a lot of times when I visit men in the prison, such as Hammond Road, Wake County Detention, when I do visit them, they have a lot of issues. And so they don't resolve those issues in there, because a lot of times that's just a holding pen. A lot of them don't go upstate, they come home. They do county bids and they don't have a job. So a lot of them are scared when they come home. And so what I do, I try to help encourage them and educate them on something like a pre-release type situation, where I can help them realize, like, listen, you got to get yourself together while you're incarcerated, rather than come home to get yourself together, because it's tough out here, because there's a stigma. You have a felony, it's hard to get a job. So I try to encourage that. So as my organization grows, I'll have something for them to come home to, like an aftercare program.
Again, along those lines, so what you're saying is when they're in prison, that's the time for them to be working on themselves and working on what they're going to do when they get out of prison. So part of what you do is to help them to get in the mindset of preparation for when you're released, so they'll be prepared to go back out into the community as a healthy, upstanding citizen in the community that can find meaningful work, employment, and just kind of move forward in their life.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And your organization does that on a broader scale. You're not just North Carolina. You're kind of broad.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now let me ask you a little bit about the book, The Millionaire's Brother. Now that book came from you have a brother in the NBA, and I understand that you all have a foundation that you all do a basketball tournament every year. I think you got one coming up real soon. Can you share a little bit about that organization and what you guys are doing you put a basketball tournament together every year?
Well, yes. Well, actually, it's called the Mike James Day. It's a foundation. I have a brother, Mike James, that's actually getting ready to retire from the NBA. Been 12 years in the NBA, NBA 2004 champ, Detroit Pistons. And we pretty much do a day every year. He gives back to the community, like a Mike James Day celebration, where they have basketball tournaments, different events that goes on to give back to the kids, to the school, book bags and different things like that. And so that's pretty much what's going on with that. And actually, that's coming up on the 23rd of this month, July. And so that's what's been going on with that. And, I pretty much taught him the game of basketball years ago, and I just took it not serious, and he did. And so that's where that Millionaire's Brother come from,
Okay. Do we have a caller?
No, we did though.
Okay. So if you want to call into the show, do call in at 919-518-9773. Again, it's 919-518-9773. Call into the show. Any questions or concerns or opinions that you have, we will take those at this time. Anthony, can you also just let people know how they can get in touch with you, how they can get your book, how they can find you on social media, and other platforms that they can also find you on?
I'm on Facebook, Chaplain Anthony James, .com, www.chaplainanthonyjames.com. I have a website, www.millionairesbrother.com, and I'm on also Amazon.com. You can find the book through Amazon.com, and the book is ready and waiting for people to order and to see what I'm doing.
All right, and Chaplain, I know we have a workshop training that's coming up the end of the month on Saturday, July the 30th, and you're going to be one of the spokespersons on that platform. Or you will be talking about the book, The Millionaire's Brother, and you're also going to be talking about the organization Men of Vision Exposed. So we're looking forward to having you on that platform. It's going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina, at 711 Hillsborough Street at the Junior League Center. You will be the featured speaker, so we look forward to having you then. I know you got a tournament that's coming up over the weekend in New York. Yourself and your brothers will be putting the basketball tournament on this weekend coming up. So you sound like you're going to be pretty busy, but also are there any other platforms that we'll be able to find you on? I guess over the summer.
Well, I'm doing some speaking stuff. I'm a mentor at the Millbrook High School.
Okay.
And so I do things there. So right now I'm still growing in my ministry. I'm still putting the word out. Like I said, I'm new down here in North Carolina, coming from New York, getting the experience of North Carolina, and so get my name out there and get my ministry out there. And what I do, pretty much, you'll hear about it because I post pretty much everything I do on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. And so mostly I do in the summer times, I go to the park and, I network and I deal with the youth. If they're playing basketball, I put out water for them, free water, hot dogs and stuff like that through my organization. And so you'll hear about that through, whatever social media that it goes out to.
All right. And again, we have Chaplain Anthony James with us today. He has his new book available, The Millionaire's Brother, which is on Amazon.com. It's available now. He's also on the upcoming platform on July the 30th at 711 Hillsborough Street in Raleigh, North Carolina. That symposium is the destigmatization of addiction and abuse. Look forward to hearing more about that coming up. Chaplain, I appreciate you coming this evening. Like you said, your book, I've read it. I love it. I couldn't put it down. I like the Taxi Cab Confessions, but also the book all the way through. It just gives us a journey of a lot of what you went through, a lot that you didn't tell us today. But in the book, it goes into a lot of the details just about your life and how that have changed from being a young boy out in the streets to becoming the chaplain that you are today. but it shows us that transition and that transformation that you went through, and it was a process.
Yes.
But also in that process, you do speak about the grace of God being on your life and being able to look at that now as an opportunity to give back, because you say yourself, you should have been dead 10 times over from just some of the experiences and a few of them that you share with us today. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience today, about you, about this thing that's going on in the community?
Well, actually, thanks for having me, today, and giving me an opportunity to spread my word, spread the word that God has placed in me, as far as, putting my book out there for exposure, and just to see what my ministry is doing and up and coming, what is to come. And I just appreciate that.
All right, man. Again, I appreciate having Chaplain Anthony James on the show this evening, and we look forward to seeing you on Saturday, July the 30th. And on that platform, have a safe trip with your brothers with the basketball tournament that's coming up. And we look forward to hearing more from Chaplain Anthony James. Now we have another guest this afternoon that's going to be on the show, and her name is Rhoza Lee. Now she also has a book that's hit the Amazon stands, and it's Black Light. And she's going to share with us today what Black Light is all about. And again, she's going to share just a little bit about what the truth is in terms of Black Light. Rhoza, how you doing
I'm
today?
wonderful. How are you all today?
We're good, but now I call you Roz, and if it's okay with you, I want to call you Roz today. I know we call you Rhoza Lee, but Roz is what I call you. Are you comfortable with me calling you Roz today?
Absolutely.
Roz, I read your book, and I love it. It was another book that I couldn't put down, and I'm not just saying that because you are here, but one of the reasons that you are here is because I did love that book so much, and I want you to share that book with everybody else as well. Can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what inspired you to even write the book?
Well, my name is Rhoza Lee. I'm originally from Virginia. I was inspired to write the book because I realized that our people and humanity as a whole needed to be encouraged, and there needed to be some words of wisdom spoken into the hearts and the minds of people's spirit to motivate them and to lift them up from the thoughts of degradation. And sometimes life can be overwhelming. And so periodically you need someone to come along and just speak into your life and encourage you. And I felt like I had that inside of me through so many different experiences to encourage people to live in abundance from within, live in their pure potentiality, in their greatness.
All right, now, Roz, along those lines, I want to lead right in with one of the poems that you have in the book, Black Light. And in that, you say, I'm colors. Never again will black, white, and gray hold me down. When I accepted my rainbow of colors, I fully became for the whole world to see. So when did Rhoza Lee become Rhoza Lee? Rhoza Lee, I'm sorry.
Well, I became Rhoza Lee when I accepted the fact that I needed to love me, and I didn't know how to do that. Most of the things about my world was shaped through the system. It's like teaching you to never color outside the lines. You got to stay in these parameters of being. And when I realized and discovered that I knew that there were some things greater about myself. I didn't know how to find those places. So life experiences caused me to become aware that there was something greater about me than just the colors of gray, the colors of black, the colors of white. But there was something greater about me, and there was something great about the people that are of those beautiful colors. And that the reality was we all were one. But I didn't discover those things until I came into understanding who I am. And that derived from the spirit of love. Love became the seed that was planted in the soil of my soul, but it needed to be cultivated. That soil needed to be cultivated. Many times when you're trying to build something, You have to cultivate the soil because you can find anything in that soil. You're trying to build a house, you might find wood and glass and all types of debris. And sometimes in our life, different debris of circumstances and situations are in those places called stuck. And so we have to discover that those things are there, remove the things that no longer serve us, and allow ourselves to be healed and restored. And then the rainbows of colors, you will have balance and you will have peace. And then in it, you can serve other people with that love as you have discovered it for yourself.
All right. Now, you also wrote the poem itself called Black Light. You say black light awakens the mind, the soul, the culture of people, of our people. How so?
Well, first of all, when you're looking at the color black itself, black is the only color that every color is derived from. So from that premise, everything else is birthed. And out of that light itself, that what I call that black light, out of that, you discover the greater of your abilities to live and to accomplish and to move and to be and to have your beings. And you're a light in the midst of what we would call that black light, because again, colors are one color, derives from one color. Everything comes from one color. And when I learned these truths, I started to use that to express to the world the power of their greatness through the light. You are the very epitome of that greatness and of that light and of that power that worketh from within you. You are that. And so in return, I needed to pen the paper and express to the world that this is who you are. This is where you derive from. And it's nothing like having an understanding from which you come. Everybody need to know that. Where did I come from? Where did I originate from? And so you can have something that you can connect to. And connecting to, I would say for me, wasn't so much the color of my skin. Black is the power, again, from so many things that grow or come out of this particular color. But my real point is that I had to accept the fact that I'm not my color, that I'm greater than my color, and that I am spirit and I am light. And so the things that I share with the world through the truth is to grow them. And I learned to grow through accepting these truths.
All right, and we call you the truth speaker. That's our nickname for you because you are the truth speaker. And in one of the poems, you do say, you are kings. Kings are people of integrity. And saying the truth is, just speaking about that, how powerful is that today when you're talking about you are kings and you know, with all this going on today? Because what you particularly said was, if everyone operate in their royal place, watch the world change pace by pace. How powerful is that today?
It's powerful every day, every moment, and every minute that we exist. We are royalty. We are royal priesthood. We're a royal nation. Our kingship is given through the Spirit of God. We are kings and priests in Christ Jesus, and that's what the Word in Revelation tell us. And so those things need to be spoken into the hearts and the minds and the spirits of humanity, to remind them of their greatness, to remind them that you are not beneath, you're above. You know, you're not the doormat, but you are the voice that perpetuates love. When we accept the fact that we're kings and queens in the earth, we're operating out of our royalty. Nothing or no one has the power to take that from us. It's based on how we perceive a thing. And if you believe that you are that royalty, then you will operate in that royalty. You won't ever take down. I live my life so many times, Terrence, living beneath my means, living as the doormat, allowing the world and the system to dictate to me who I am and what I am. When I began to operate out of spirit of love, then I realized this is my kingship. This is my royalty. I'm an ambassador for the kingdom of God, and I take a stand, and I do it through the power of love. And so I operate in that reigning. We have the power to reign, and God has given us dominion over all things in the earth, all things. There's nothing beneath us. We possess the power to declare and proclaim and be that kings, those queens, those princes, those princesses. Whatever you believe for, you are it. You are it.
So that brings me back to uh, being the climate of the world today with the shootings and the brutality. Do you think that if mankind was operating from their kingsmanship, from that kingdom spirit, that we would have the craziness and the atrocities that's going on right now, if they were operating from that place in which you call operating from your, that king, that royalty?
Yes, you're absolutely right. If we knew that, that's something need to be tattooed into our memory, into our heart, into our spirit, that we are the pure potentiality, and that pure potentiality is the capability of being real, being being and learning how to operate in that reality. Being real is the reality. We live in the illusion. Many times we have been taught what we can and cannot do, so we become whatever we are taught. For as a man thinketh, so he becomes that. And so when we look at our system, we look at the world, that system dictates a certain mindset. But when you believe that you are above the system, that you are the kings and queens and you are the royalty, then you have dominion. And in your kingdom, the kingdom that worketh from within, you have power to begin to declare, proclaim, and speak that which you believe for. No one has the power to take that from you. So yes, the world would be in a greater place. The world would evolve greater if we knew the real truth about who we are. And when we don't know that, then we become what the system dictates.
Right. Is there a caller? Okay. If you want to call into the show, we have Roz with us today, and she has her book Black Light, and in that she speaks the truth. She talk about the truth and what the truths are. So do call into the show at 919-518-9773 if you have questions or opinions or concerns. Do give us a call. Roz or myself, we can answer your questions. But Roz, also, while we got you here, now also you spoke about the unstoppable generation. The unstoppable generation, where you say, I sat in the presence of great black men and they began to tell me these. Can you elaborate on that poem and that conversation where you were going with the generation that can't be stopped?
Well, I had an experience when I was a younger girl, and I noticed that I saw our generation, our men, black men, and they were laying around, and I saw that some of them were drunk, and I saw the different things that they were going through, and I was concerned about what is this that I'm seeing? What is this that I'm seeing in my generation, where I'm seeing that these people, great men, have great potential. Why is this happening? Why am I seeing this? And so as I began to grow in my life, I realized that I understood that if you don't pour and inspire and empower people with words and to build them up on every side, that they can fall to become anything. And so when I saw this when I was a younger girl, I realized that there was a void. They were missing something. Something happened in their life to cause them to fall to this state of degradation. And as I grew older, I said, well, listen, it's something that I have to offer. And I knew that I had a voice that I can speak. And I had this spirit where I knew that I could exalt men and build them up and exalt women and young children and motivate them. And so I said that the area that I saw was affected the most, I made up in my mind that that's where I wanted to pour my energy to. So I started building them up and encouraging them and lifting them up. And then I became a part of the prison ministry. And then I would go to the prison ministry and began to see right before me men of greatness with great abilities and with great creativity and great minds to think. And I knew that they was just awesome, and the world needed what they had, and I wanted to continue to be a part of that. And how can I pour into them to help bring out their brilliance and bring out their greatness? And I was just, I just marveled at the knowledge that they had. And I just wanted to be a part of that. And so when I began to write, I wrote about how they are unstoppable. I wrote about how they have the ability to change the world. You know, you can even have a man behind bars, but you can't stop his ability to think, his ability to create, his ability to change things from his within without. And I saw that he had all of these powerful, powerful abilities to create and to be an example, to be a voice. When I saw the things that not just so much in prison, in the jails where I visited, but even in our world, in our communities, people are still incarcerated within their own mind. People are imprisoned to their thoughts when they don't know or believe that their greatness already works from their within. They already possess the power to be that greatness, you know, to be that one that is brilliant and to have the capacity and the ability to achieve whatever they believe, you know. So I see the generation that we're living in, and I know in my whole heart, they are unstoppable. They are unstoppable with their abilities and abilities of creativity. And I keep saying that because we are searching so hard for so many things, Terrence. The reality is we are it. It worketh within us. When we're trying to search outside of us where an illusion is, you're chasing after a thing that you never can obtain. It's like being on a treadmill, you know. You're on it and you say, this is my dream and vision, and you're on the treadmill, guess what? You'll never get any further because it's an illusion. It's meant to be in that stagnant place. But the reality is you have the capacity and the capability to accomplish whatever your heart believes for. You're the answers already within you. You come in the volume of the book, and the book is expressed of you. It talks about you. And so you have what the world needs. I challenge everybody that's listening today. I challenge you to come up. I challenge you to come up in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit. I challenge you to take authority with the life that has been given you. Don't wait on the world to dictate and declare to you what it is that you should or shouldn't do, and never color outside the lines. I decree whatever you believe for today, you take authority, you take advantage, because the power worketh from within. And then the world will see the expression on it, on your without.
Girl, you put that all in perspective. You put that in perspective. I think you put it in perspective well, and I think if people take that in for what it's worth, they'll be able to see that what you're saying is you don't have to go looking outside for
Absolutely.
something to be fulfilled or to fill a void. That what you're looking for is actually inside of you, is inside your heart. So how do a person get to look at what's in their heart? How do they get to the heart matter?
Well, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth is going to speak. So whatever man is thinking, whatever you think from your within, is going to express you, whether it be negativity, whether it be positiveness, whatever you choose is what you're going to receive. But what I come to understand is that the answer to all things, I don't care how big, how small, how intellectual, I don't care what it is that we are challenged with every day in our life. If we do not have the prescription that will meet every need, the prescription is love. Love is the key. It's the foundation of which all other things are built upon. That's what you need to achieve and to contain and maintain whatever it is your heart desire in this life. It's going to come through that prescription, and that prescription is love. And that prescription is available. You don't have to go to the doctor office to get it. Can I tell you? You don't have to spend any money for it. You don't have to fill out any papers. You don't have to stand in a line. You don't have to be approved by anybody. It flows directly out of you. You are the living, moving being of the expression of who God is, and it's called L-O-V-E. And every man possess it. And you decree how you want it to operate. You got to speak it to everything in your whole life. If you got a sickness, you got a disease, you're dealing with something politically, economically, socially, mentally, financially, whatever it might be. Love is the answer for all of those things. And if you try to look outside of you for anything else, I'm telling you, you're going to constantly live frustrated. Because at the end of the day, that's the illusion. Anything outside of love is the illusion. And so when you apply love to everything that you're doing, it's an expression of who God is. You can't get any better than that. I'm telling you, I know from experience.
So, Roz, let me ask. So, why do you say it's an illusion? what's the illusion? I guess that man is seeking, and why can't he see the reality of love? Why are we seeing so much hate and so much fear, and not seeing love? What's blocking that?
Well, it goes back again when you don't operate out of the kingdom of love itself, then that means you're going to operate out of something outside of love. So whatever is outside of that is all you're going to get. So if you're living what I call the lie, the mind will lie to you, just like the system will lie to you. The system was created for failure. If you don't think above the system, then you're going to be caught up in the system. So however that rotation of life is flowing that does not incorporate love, then you will have disappointments. You're going to have that frustration. Even in the power of love, things will still happen in life. That's just reality. That's the truth. But we have power over everything through the ability to love. Love changes it. When I was dealing with some forms of sickness in my body, every day I would apply the spirit of love to whatever was ailing me. If I had a negative thought because maybe somebody spoke to me a certain way and I felt offended, when I applied love to it daily, it caused it to dissipate. It's the power of it. And when we come into the truth of knowing how to apply love to whatever our situation, no matter what condition the world is in, we have the power to change it through the spirit of love. I couldn't become a better woman and even arrive to the places I am in my life until I had to confront my condition. And my condition was I really didn't love me. I only heard what the system said. I only believed what the system said. It told me that I couldn't color outside the lines. It told me that I couldn't think a certain way, dress a certain way, work a certain place. I couldn't make a certain amount of money. It dictated to me how I should live. And the day that I realized that I really didn't love me and I needed to come into loving me, accepting me, and prophesying to my own life, declaring to my own life, I have the ability to believe and to achieve and change the world. But I had to change my own individual world from within in order to help the world without. And so if we all can come to a place of accountability to ourselves, stop living to blame the whole world, but deal with your own world individually within you and confront you where you are about your life situation and circumstances, be quick to forgive and love always. If you never live by anything, forgive quickly and love always.
I hear you. Now, forgiving is not as simple as it sounds. Forgiving quickly. Most times, if we do forgive, it's over a period of time. So I think forgiving quickly is something that we have to learn, or it have to be, I guess, imparted in us through kingdom teachings. But this brings me to the question. This guy named Frank Doughton, and you say he was your kingdom teacher, or he taught you so much from the kingdom. Can you share a little bit about where you were and when you met him, the kingdom teachings that he taught you? Did he bring you into? And I know I'm asking you several questions, but did he bring you into that light, that truth that you're able to share with us now?
Absolutely. And being led by the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of the living God will reveal all things to you. I was so lost within my own self. I was living. I didn't know how to find a sense of peace from within, but I knew that I needed something. I was only just barely surviving, and I started to go to this ministry in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm like 1990, 1991, something like that. And Apostle Frank Doughton was teaching on the kingdom. And what I didn't know at the time was I didn't understand that the kingdom of God was within me. And we're thinking about this certain place in our mind, or maybe a heavenly place where we can't ever reach. But he began to teach and expound and express to the congregation, to the people, that what you are in search of is already within you. You know, Paul says in the Bible, he says, the mystery of God is Christ in you, the hope of glory. And so I lived my whole life looking outside of me for what I already had. I was already it. I just didn't know that. I didn't know that I possessed the power to be and to do and to accomplish and to hear and to be healed. I needed to be healed. I was so broken. I was so wounded from so many different things in life that I didn't know how to sort these things out and where did I put all of this stuff. But when I started learning that, I thought like God was so far away from me. How in the world will I ever reach him? But the mystery of God and the teachings were through the Word of God, which is God's prophetic truth, is that Christ in me, the hope of glory. And when I realized that everything that I was in search of, I already possessed it, it brought me to such a place of a comfortable place, a place that I knew that I could now achieve. I can do great and marvelous things now because it's touchable, it's tangible. And I could change my life, my way of thinking through the teaching. So, yes, I really do. I'm very thankful for Apostle Frank Dowden and the teachings that were given to me, a foundation that I could build upon. And then after that, I had to move on and spread my own wings and trust the things that I had learned and allow those things to carry me to the place where I am now. And not that I'm stopping, I'm continuing it because life has so many challenges, but it's a process. And I just want people to hear that the forgive, always, and to love, to forgive quickly and to love always. That is a process. And so all of these things that I experienced, I had to be processed through these things, but they all are necessary for our lives to become a greater people, and that we're here to fulfill the mission, and that God is the purpose. We can express that light of who God is through our lives.
That's awesome. Roz, now from my knowing you over the past year, you've shared that you had a beautiful childhood with your parents and family, but you said when you went to school, you felt you didn't feel good enough, or you didn't feel pretty enough. But in growing up with your family, you felt love, and they showed love. And it was only until you went to school that, you realized that people were, I guess, mean spirited, and love wasn't in their heart so much as. Is that where you, I guess, lost the self love during that time, and you had to regain and find that? Can you take us there?
Yeah, in my book called Black Light, I write a poem called Little Black Girl. And the book that particular poem is about me and what I came out of. And when I say what I came out of, because I was living in a lie, and I came out of the lie into the truth. The little black girl was in the poetry in the book. It begins to talk about living in my home. I never knew I had a father and a mother, and I had sisters, and I never knew that I was black. I never knew I was a color. I just knew that my family loved me. That's all that I knew. But when I started the school when I was 5, I realized that they began to make mockery of my color. And my complexion was darker than many of theirs. I went to school with black and white and Hispanic, Chinese. But my color was made fun of because it was so much darker than everybody else's. And so what they did was that caused a contamination in my soul. It began to run deep inside of me, and it planted seed in the soul of my mind, leaving me to believe that I was not worthy. Somehow I just was not good enough. I wasn't as good as everybody else. And when these things happen in your life, and those of you who are listening, whenever any of these types of things happen to you, whether it be about your race or something else, whenever that seed of negativity is planted into the soul of your mind, if there's nobody to come and like rescue you, there's nobody to mentor you or to encourage you or build you up or motivate you, then those thoughts are perpetual. They'll be constant. And so I didn't have that. I didn't always go home and say, Mom or Dad, my sisters, children at school are picking with me or calling me names. I would just cry. And then because I became isolated within myself with those thoughts, they were tattooed to my heart. They were tattooed to my memory. And then it becomes a doorkeeper. It stands there in that spot right there and constantly reminds you that this is who they say that you are. But then I did not know how to deliver or set myself free from changing the thought. And so it followed me through my life into my adulthood. And so I remember so well one time we was taking pictures at school. I think I was in the 11th grade, and we were taking pictures in school. And, you know, they always put the tall people in the back and the shorter people in the front. And just when it was time to take a picture, I jumped from the front and got in the back behind this really tall guy. And after the picture was already taken, the teacher was like, "Why did you do that?" I would never tell her why. But when the pictures came out, it was as if I was invisible. So the world will speak things into your spirit, into your heart, and into your mind. If we do not erase that and eradicate those things from the root, yes, they will follow your life. I had weighed up to 337 pounds. Just the constant feeling rejected all through my life. I ate my way through my pain, and I didn't know how to be set free. And all of this is in my poem. So I was like all the way up to a size 30. Now, women, y'all know 30 is big. It's really large. And I was able to lose 128 pounds, but it wasn't until I began to love me. I needed to forgive me, even how I treated me, and forgive others of how they treated me. And once I started doing those things, life began to take on a different form and shape. Life is beautiful when you learn how to live it, and I didn't know how to live it. But once I started forgiveness and started loving myself, the weight actually started dissipating, and it started coming off, and I started forgiving people. And the more people that I forgave, and the more love that I sent out into the world, nationally, globally, worldwide, to the earth, to the planet, I just began to send love. And I send love to everything that I do, and it always delivers. It's the prescription to all healing to the heart and the mind of every man and woman and child.
Thank you, Roz. That's another deep and meaningful piece. Now, you did a lot of traveling. You traveled over to Africa, and you travel. How did you get involved in, I guess, that ministry to where you were able to travel abroad, and how was that experience?
Well, that was a powerful, that would make me smile so hard, because it was such a powerful experience. And during that particular time, I was in search of still who I am in a lot of ways. And I always wanted to have a connection with my culture of people, you know, our birthplace. Where do we originate from? Who are we really, and who am I really connected to? And I just always knew in my heart I wanted to have that experience. I remember my grandmother lived to be 93, and I remember down through the years, my grandmother always had a powerful ministry where she always would send money and feed and clothe and school the children in Africa. And I always wanted to go out. I just always wanted to have that experience. And she would have their pictures on the refrigerator and different things like that always excited me. And one day I went to apply for this job to do physical therapy for the lady that I'd actually take care of now. And the same day of the interview, she said, "Would you like to go to Africa with me?" And I was just blown away. I didn't have an idea of how I was going to get there or anything. I just knew that this is for me. This is for me. And it presented itself. And so I did get to go on a mission trip to Africa in 2013. And then I got to go again in 2014. We stayed a whole month. We helped build schools, classrooms. We also got a chance to build wells, clinics, provide clothing, school uniforms, books and pencils and backpacks and medicines and everything that you could think of that would be possibly necessary. We were able to carry and to take to Africa to the children. And then I love the relationship. When I got over there, I thought that I knew what love was. I never knew love until I went to Africa. I never knew who God was. Can I really tell you that? I never really knew who God was until I went to Africa. And I always get full every time I talk about it, because it changed my life. It changed my perspective to how I viewed everything, how I viewed me, the community, the church, my job, my family. It changed me to be more accountable and responsible to what God have entrusted me with. It caused me to love greater and to give greater and to live that I was called here to serve and to give my life to my fellow man through the spirit of love. And it just it caused me to become challenged. And I want to say Bonnie Dixon is the patient, the lady that I take care of, but she's a visionary of Journey Partners, and she's the one who invited me to go on a mission trip. She's been going for 25 years, and about 7 years ago, she had a stroke. And this is what really propelled me to come up higher. When I saw her in the wheelchair and she had that stroke, she never stopped going to Zimbabwe. She never stopped serving. She never stopped giving up her time. And what it did was, it's like I had an aha moment. One day we was in Barure, and I saw her in her chair. She was reading, and I was thinking, I'm here because she had a vision. What is my real purpose? What am I really, really called to do? And so I felt challenged to come up and to do more and to serve and be a greater person from within. And when I did that, when I got back, like my whole life was changed. My whole life was changed. And I'm just grateful for the experience because it taught me so much. It taught me how to generate love and let that be the prescription to the world, and not just be a person that talk about it, but be about it. In every relationship that I have, and anybody that know me, I flow out of the spirit of love because that is the answer. And she taught me, no matter what your condition is, whether you have a stroke, whether you can't use your arm or your leg, whatever it might be. She was in a wheelchair, and she still went to the other part of the world, to another continent, and still fulfilled her purpose and to why she is. And so that empowered me. I became inspired to do great and marvelous things and to serve and express who God is through love.
Roz, I must say, every time that you're in my presence, I'm inspired. I'm enlightened.
Wonderful.
I'm elated every time you're in my presence. You always take me to a higher place. I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank you for sharing your new book, Black Light. I also want you to let people know how they can get in contact with you, how they can get your book, Black Light, what social media outlets they can reach you at. And again, I appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, you can find me on Facebook, and I am Rhoza Lee. You can find me on LinkedIn. I also have a 501c3 for a nonprofit organization, and it's called the Center of Prophetic Arts. That's the prophetic and performing arts. And my book you can find on Amazon. There are a whole lot of other listings that actually, there's 12 other listings that's carrying my book. I'm going to be honest with you, I can't tell you the name of all of them, but I can tell you, you can go through Amazon and find Black Light with Rhoza Lee poetry. And I thank you so much for having me.
And again, Rhoza Lee, we call her Roz, will be with us on July the 30th at the 711 Hillsborough Street. The symposium that we have on that day is destigmatizing addiction and abuse. She's going to be on that platform. You will be able to get a copy of her book if you show up. So we look forward to having Roz there. Also, Chaplain Anthony James will be present. I appreciate you all tuning in today and every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Hopefully we have imparted so much, and I know Roz have poured a lot into my soul today, and also Chaplain Anthony James have poured a lot. So I appreciate both those people for being here this evening. I look forward to having them on the platform on July the 30th. Again, thanks, and you all have a great week, and I'll see you all again next Tuesday at 2 o'clock, Rebels with a Purpose. Thanks.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, My Life, My Will with Gisela DiCarlo, The Tanya Love Show, Health Then with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Triangle Be Well with Howard Jacobson, Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Yisrael Cutler, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, Current Affairs with Amnon Nissan, And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on NissanCommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.